instructor y profesor de inglés en Blue English Academy. Y esto es Blubrain, el lugar en donde modulamos el conocimiento. En el episodio de hoy nos visita Dev, joven ingeniero de audio que ha tenido la oportunidad de trabajar con bandas como Interpol, The Strokes y The Marías. Quédate al episodio de hoy, ponte cómodo, ponte cómoda, porque vamos a descubrir cuál es ese lugar en donde se mezclan la música y los idiomas. Dev, thank you very much. You're here with us in Blubrain. Thank you for coming. You just had the sound check with Interpol at Zócalo, right?
Yep.
How was it?
It was okay. It was pretty chill, pretty easy day. You know, there were some problems that came up, but we were able to remediate them pretty quickly. Yeah, on the recording side, they were having some hiccups, but everything got sorted. Everything is great. So we'll look forward to the show tomorrow.
Ready for tomorrow?
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll go in tomorrow, do a quick check, make sure everything still works, and hit it.
Good. Dev, I've just met you, but I'd like you to introduce yourself to the people. Who's Devin?
Sure. My name's Devin. I'm a live sound engineer. I do monitors, front of house. I do some broadcast stuff. I do a little bit of tour management and production management. I've started getting into real estate recently to try and come up with an exit strategy to not be dependent on touring all the time. I have a yoga teacher training certification that I used for a little while. I've been to 45 plus countries for work and pleasure. I'm looking forward to
40 plus countries. That's a lot.
Going to more. Yeah.
That's a lot. So you're a live audio engineer. What's the thing that you like the most about your job?
The travel. I love traveling. I always wanted to travel when I was younger and get paid to travel, but I didn't know how that was going to manifest itself.
All right.
And somehow, this came to be. So that's definitely my favorite part. I also love seeing and experiencing the shows and seeing how people react at shows, and it gives me a sense of fulfillment and gratitude when I'm at a show and I can look around and kind of like get into the mix and feel good about what I'm doing and see all the other people around me really enjoying the environment that I'm helping create.
What was the first thing, like the yoga certification? You were first a yoga teacher, or you were a live audio engineer first?
Well, first I worked in IT. And it was terrible. I hated it. It was miserable.
But you have to go through, right?
Yeah.
To learn.
Yeah. And I did some DJing. So I did that. And, I played instruments in school. So I had a little bit of a musical background. So I always loved being involved in music. And then one day I had an opportunity to intern at a small rock club in New York called the Mercury Lounge. And I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life at that point. So I said...
How old were you at that time?
Early 20s, I think. In my early 20s. Maybe like 22-ish, okay. Somewhere around there.
Let's say around 23, right?
Yeah, I've been doing this since 2012. I'm 35, so 12 years ago. Yeah, it's probably like 22, 23, somewhere around there.
All right.
So I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I was willing to try anything, and I enjoyed environments like that. So I said, yeah, sure. So I went and I tried it out, and I fell in love with it right away. And I said, I'm going to do this. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put all my time and attention and energy into doing this. And that's what I did. And then, I worked full time at my IT job that I hated and spent all my free time learning how to do this. And then I got to a point where the person who was teaching me to do it, he said, look, I can't teach you anything else. You have to go out and teach yourself now and figure out what to do next.
How long did it happen until he told you that?
Maybe 6 months or so.
Okay, it was fast.
Yeah, it was pretty fast.
You're a fast learner. And you?
Yeah, I mean, anyone could be a fast learner if you apply yourself, right? And if you focus your time and attention and energy and you really want to do something, you're most likely going to learn it faster than if you're kind of lackadaisical or not really serious or committed to learning something, right?
Okay, yeah. Well, that seems a little difficult in these times where we have like 7 seconds of attention because of TikTok and those things, right?
Right, yeah.
All right, and what did you do next?
So I did that. I grinded my teeth working in little rock clubs in New York and, mixing all kinds of bands and working 7 days a week just to get better at what I was doing because I knew I was bad at it. When you start doing something, you're bad at it. Right?
Yeah, of course.
And you have to practice to get better. So I worked myself into the ground to get better. And then eventually through doing that, I started getting offered tours. So I started doing some tours and then it just kind of builds from there. And this industry is very nepotistic and it's a lot of who you know and as well as, you have to be good at what you do, but
of course,
having connections and knowing certain people definitely helps without a doubt. So just being out in the environment and meeting different people and making connections facilitated getting bigger and bigger tours. And then the thing that really kicked it off for me, I think, was I got offered a tour with Albert Hammond Jr.,
I don't know.
He plays with the Strokes.
Oh, okay.
And I remember it was at a point where I had spoken to a colleague of mine in New York who was making more money than I was at the time. And I said, how do you command more money? We're doing the same thing, but how are you making more money than me? Yeah. And he told me, no one else is ever going to value you at this level until you value yourself at this level. So I got that in my head and started putting that into practice. And when I got asked to do the Albert Hammond Jr. gig, it was, less money than I would have liked to be making at that point in time. And I turned it down initially, and then it came back and another person totally separate asked me if I was interested in doing it. So I said, maybe I'm supposed to do this.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do it. So I went and I did it and it was great. Albert took me all over the world and, I got to go to a ton of new places and get a ton of new experiences. And it was really wonderful. And then from there, one day he asked me if I wanted to go do monitors for the Strokes. And then once I made that jump, it felt like anything was possible for me. And then when I went back to New York, subsequent to working with them, I was able to go to all these different production houses and, any bands that I spoke to and reached out to, I could just tell them, hey, look, I work for these guys. So you want to hire me? I'm great. Hire me. And I just kind of, not to be like full of myself, but, you have to have confidence in yourself.
But I mean, that confidence comes from the point that you step on that level, that you know that from that level, anything could be possible, right?
Yeah.
Was that for you the case?
Yeah, that was definitely the case for me. And even still, you get to that point where I know for me, I got to that point, and even after that, I have moments where days where, things are going wrong and it feels like, why am I doing this? Am I even good at this? Was I ever even good at this?
Does it still happen?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Oh, how often?
It's not something that happens often, but it's definitely something that does happen. And I think that for me personally, I can be my own biggest obstacle at times. And I feel like a lot of people have that. And, I've spoken to other people in the industry, and it's a common thing.
It happens
to have. Yeah. But, you let those thoughts come in and you be aware of it, and then you just try and move through it, right? And you're like, okay, well, let me take a breath. I'm here now. What can I do to better my situation and move forward?
You went big from that point. What are the bands, like the biggest that you've worked with?
Or
the artist?
Some of the big cool ones are Strokes. I did Strokes for a little while. I did monitors for them. Interpol, been doing monitors for them. I did Yes for a little bit. There's so many bands, dude. The list just goes on and on. I forget so many of them as well.
Were you nervous when you did that change of working in little places with little productions to these massive ones?
Oh my God, I was so nervous. Yeah, it was just kind of like, it was almost like a fake it till you make it kind of situation. And you get this feeling of like imposter syndrome in a way. But it's nice to be afforded those opportunities and have people believe in you and support you in that way and kind of help give you the push that you need in order to get to where you need to go.
Do you think people help you going through that, or do you believe in yourself first?
You have to believe in yourself, I think. And if you don't believe in yourself, even if people try and help you, you might not be able to succeed to your full potential.
Yeah. You've been to a lot of places. You said 40 plus countries, right?
Yeah, a lot of places.
Maybe more.
Yeah.
And you've been in touch with lots of different cultures and people, different kind of ways of thinking. Mm-hmm. What's the impact that this has done to you?
It's definitely helped shape who I am, being in all these different places and making all these different connections and experiencing different thought processes and different cultures. And I'm very grateful to have had the opportunity to be able to go to all these places and take all that in. I don't know if that answers the question or not, but
is there like something that has happened to you that has really impacted the way you see the world from all these experiences of traveling? Because I think it's very difficult to find balance when you're moving from one place to another.
It is. It can be extremely challenging. And the touring industry especially, being out and moving around and having no routine, having things changing all the time, it leads to a lot of people to depression and substance dependency and things like this, just to try and get through what you're going through. So it can be very challenging for a lot of people, and it's something that a lot of people don't know about, I guess, and it's not really widely spoken about. But that is definitely something that happens. And I've been lucky enough to have found a yoga practice which has helped me in this kind of ever-changing environment of work that I'm in, to try and keep me, have some semblance of some kind of routine, something that's consistent, something that I can come back to kind of like bring me back down to earth in a way.
Yeah, like a place, but
yeah,
but not a place.
Even if you're somewhere totally different and totally new.
Yeah, but like that's your place, that's your activity, that's where you flow, right?
Yeah, it's like a meditative practice in a way.
I wanted to go that way. You said you had a certification as a yoga teacher. How has that impacted your life personally and professionally? Because meditation is, I think, crucial for change. and for being focused. You said that it's important to be focused, and you can advance fast and be a fast learner if you get focused.
Right.
Has that come from yoga?
It definitely helps me and has helped me kind of process and move through a lot of things in a way and not be so caught up in my mind. If that makes sense, because a lot of times you get caught up in your mind and you get caught up in these thoughts and they take you to all these different places.
Mind is always talking, right?
Yeah. So it helps you kind of quiet that and be aware of like, hey, these thoughts are happening and I'm aware of them, but I'm not these thoughts, good, bad, or indifferent. They are what they are. I'm going to let them kind of do their thing and try and hone in and focus on what actually is important in whether you're, at your hotel room trying to figure out what the next plan for your life is, or whether you're in a stressful situation at work and you're trying to figure out how to navigate through that. It's definitely been a very valuable tool for me, both at work and outside of work, to move through my life.
Right. I totally got you there. You said like you've been in a lot of massive shows. I think there's a lot of trouble sometimes. Has there been a special situation where you had to face something challenging, like in a live performance?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, that's inherent in the nature of live performance, right?
And you need to improvise, right?
Yeah, things go wrong sometimes.
How do you manage when things go wrong?
You just, after a while, you don't think about it. You just are aware of the problem. And for me personally, I become aware of an issue and my body just does what it needs to do in order to facilitate fixing the problem, whatever it might be, whether it's physically doing something to fix it or being aware of what's wrong and being able to communicate with someone near me who's able to do what needs to be done. Live performances and production in general is a big communication realm. It's a communications job. That's at the root of it, for sure.
I got you. I'd like to go back to the part where you said when you were in your early 20s, you were kind of lost. And
oh, yeah.
I think that's important. That's important because your message can help, at least your experience can help a lot of people. Because I think for young people, maybe teenagers or early 20 years, most of the people that I know struggle with that, with being lost, with finding meaningful things to do in life.
Yeah.
What's an advice that you have for them?
Oh, fuck.
Because yeah, oh, fuck, because that's difficult. And I've been in that place. So when you said it, that's why I told you it's a blessing that you can find your thing, or it found you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I would say, try and, put yourself in new, different situations, do things that make you uncomfortable, and try and find things that feel good and provide some sense of gratification and fulfillment that's not temporary and fleeting. And then when you find those things, keep doing them. And hopefully, if you keep doing that, things will start to present themselves to you. Bigger and bigger opportunities, and maybe it's a pivot in a direction that you might not expect. But I believe that doing things that can help people in a way, I think, is.
Can you go deep in that?
I'm trying to think about how that relates to my job, right? in live performances, even if it's something where it's like you look around and you see all these people and you're contributing to something that's allowing so many people to feel a certain way, and feel happiness and enjoyment, or, you know, a wide variety of emotions that can come in a live show. So for me, you know, when I found that, I just kind of stuck with that. And I didn't know what it was going to be. You know what I mean? It was just kind of like this little thing that I found doing shows for, you know, 100, 200, 300 people that felt good to me to be able to do and to be able to see how it affects other people in the room. And then it just kind of grew from there. And I never expected that I would be where I am now when I was doing that.
You never imagined it as a kid?
No, I mean, I had no idea what I wanted to do when I was a kid. I didn't have a lot of great direction when I was younger. I didn't have a lot of good examples set forth in front of me on things to do or how to be. And I got into some trouble as a kid. You know, I was doing stupid stuff and was addicted to drugs for a while, and that wasn't it. And, you know, I had to have that experience, right, in order to learn from that experience and kind of move through it to realize, like, hey, that's not it.
When was the point that you realized that wasn't it? That you were going the wrong path, let's say with the addictions or the substance abuse?
It's hard to pinpoint kind of an exact moment where that happened. You know, there's probably a bunch of moments where that happened.
Yeah, it happens to me. And you really say, like, this is the moment that no,
yeah,
you can go.
I mean, I've had so many moments where it's like, oh my God, I'm never doing this again. This is like the worst thing ever. And then, you know, like the next day you're doing the same fucking thing. And it's like, why, how am I stuck in this cycle? And why am I doing this?
How did you stop that? I think it can be helpful to.
I don't remember exactly how I stopped. It was just so many years of kind of bad trips, I guess. And, you know, there's a lot of good ones. There's a lot of like great, fun, momentary, fleeting experiences.
Fulfillment too?
Not lasting.
Okay.
You know, but like very temporary, short-lived fulfillment.
Okay, yeah.
Nothing that was really genuine. And, you know, after a while of that, and then realizing when kind of all that goes away, what is left? What do you have? It's like, okay, I hang around all these people, and what do? We do drugs together, and that's all we do. And then, you know, you cut that out, and you're like, okay, I'm going to take a break from doing drugs because it doesn't feel good in my body right now. And then you realize, like, oh, hey, you know, these people don't really like me. Maybe I don't really like these people. We don't really have anything in common.
That's harsh. Except
for the fact that, you know, we're using these substances together, which is a tough realization to have sometimes, especially if those are the only people that you've been surrounding yourself with. And then you have to go off and kind of be alone. And that can be very challenging for a lot of people, right? To kind of sit alone and reflect on who you are and what you're doing and what you want out of life.
Was it for you?
Oh, yeah, it's extremely challenging. Of course. It was very, very challenging. It's still challenging to sit and think about, you know, this is where I am and who I am now and what am I doing and what do I want to do next and how do I want to see my life and how do I want it to feel? And, you know, it can be very challenging to sit and reflect on that and think about how that looks and to try and contemplate how you might get there. But you have to sit in that uncomfortableness to move through it. Right. You have to be faced with some kind of adversity in order to progress.
That adversity takes something out of you, right? Something that was not there, but you only discovered it with the challenge that is coming, don't you think?
Yeah. Sometimes you could discover things without challenge, but I think that adversity definitely kind of forces you sometimes to become aware of things, or make certain changes that are necessary.
At this point of your life, like, you seem to have a lot, maybe not everything, but a lot figured out.
Thanks.
Well, I think, right? Not like, at least not like when you were in your early 20s.
Yeah, I'd like to think that I have a lot more figured out than when I was in my early 20s. I think that I do. I still have a lot to learn, and
there's always something new to learn.
Yeah, there's always something.
And
hopefully,
what's next for you? What would you like to be doing in, let's say, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years?
1 year, 3 year, 5 years. Well, I am going to be touring for a bit longer.
With Interpol?
No. So this is this show, and then I have a couple more shows in America with Interpol, and then I'm going to stop doing that and jump on to another tour with a band called the Marias.
Oh, I know.
They're great. Who are putting out an album in May.
Okay.
It's an incredible album. I'm very excited about it. And they're going to do 18-month album cycle or so. Not straight, we have some breaks in there, thankfully. Yeah. But I'm going to do that because I love those guys. I love working with them. I love the music, and they're all, really fabulous people. And it's just the experience of doing that job is really wonderful. So I'm going to do that. And then subsequent to that, I don't really know. I started acquiring rental properties in the States as a exit strategy from touring, because I don't want to tour for
all your life, right?
I don't want to tour my whole life. I don't want to be dependent on it. I love to do it when I want to do it. But when you're dependent on it, it takes on a new challenge in a way where, being out for 10 months, 9 months out of the year, it's tough. Yeah. It's really tough. And I just don't have that in me anymore. I don't want to do it. When I was younger, I wanted to do it, and it was a great experience, and I'm really grateful to have done it. But at this point in my life, I don't want to do that all the time. I want to focus more on my health. And so I started acquiring rental properties, and I'm hoping to get up to 10 doors within the next maybe 2 to 3 years. I think I can get up to 10 doors. Yeah. And then at that point, I think I'll be able to just do whatever I want. And, I'll have to maintain all the properties and stay on top of that to a certain extent. But it'll allow me to tour when I want to tour and have fun doing that. And I don't know, maybe go live somewhere else.
Where would you like to go?
That's another thing I want to do. Maybe 5 to 10 year plan after I have 10 rental properties in America, acquire 10 more outside of America. Yeah. To use as vacation rentals and kind of rent them out all year. And then if I want to go stay somewhere for a while, then I can go, maybe I get one in Mexico. Maybe I get one in Thailand. Maybe I get one somewhere in Europe, or, 2 somewhere in Europe, or I don't know, just start acquiring them how homes in Japan are really cheap right now also.
In Japan?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're just like giving homes away over there.
I want to go like a gift for my 30th birthday. So
you want to go to Japan?
Yeah, one of the countries that I feel connected to. I think they have such interesting culture.
Yeah.
Very, very old culture.
Have you been before or no?
No.
Oh, dude.
I want it to be the first time when I'm 30, like for my birthday.
Oh, you got to go.
I want to go up the Fuji.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the places that I feel connected to, like it's calling me.
Yeah, I love it there. I would love to have a house there.
I didn't know that it was cheap to buy a house.
You're not going to be able to go to certain like spas or onsens or
because
gyms.
Of the tattoos, right?
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's certain places you go, and it's kind of like
they're very conservative, right?
Yeah, even I've went to, you try and go to like certain gyms or certain spas, and they look at you and they're like, "Oh, you can't come in here." Why? Because you have tattoos. It's like, but I'm obviously I'm a white guy from America. You know what I mean? I'm obviously not Yakuza or someone who's threatening. So,
of course,
but they don't care. They're just like, get out of here.
Oh, okay, got you.
But by and large, everybody's super welcoming. It's just like it's a very like small percentage of places that you may try to go where that will happen. But that's another like cultural thing that's out there that you might not expect that you can run into.
It's okay. I think I love those differences.
Yeah.
It's part
neat
of
to experience.
It's part of it. Yeah. I wanted to ask you this: how was the jump from being a live audio engineer to the thing of management? Was it difficult for you?
Well, I do some tour management and production management, which goes hand in hand with being in live production. It's not the artist management side. So it kind of came naturally just from being in a live show environment for so long and seeing what everyone's doing, and even asking tour managers and production managers, like, what are you doing? Like, what is your job? What do you have to do? So just being in that environment for so long, kind of, you're able to wrap your brain around what's happening, and it kind of makes for an easy transition into doing that if that's something that you want to do, so long as you have some semblance of organization and decent communication skills.
Yeah.
And if you got to be like a nice person, the communication is the biggest part of it, though, for sure. Being able to communicate well with people and over communicate with people and make sure that everything's going to happen when it's supposed to happen and how it's supposed to happen. So it was kind of a natural transition for me, and I try and stay more in the production management side of it, which is managing the crew of people and all the gear and making sure the gear and the equipment is everywhere it needs to be when it needs to be there.
How big is it? The whole crew?
I mean, it depends on
the production?
The production that you're on. There's productions out there where, you're traveling 5, 6, 7, 8 buses, and your crew is, could be 30, 40, 50 plus people.
That's huge.
And then there's other productions that you might be on that, your crew might be 2 people or 5 people or 10 people.
How do you manage all that energy? Like all those different personalities? Are you just used to, like you learned with time?
Yeah. You just kind of roll with it, and going to so many different places and meeting so many different people kind of acclimates you to being in an environment like that. And sometimes you end up in a situation or a job where, it's not the right fit. Either you're not the right fit for them, or that environment or group of people is not the right fit for you. And that's okay, to experience that. And sometimes it can be very challenging to experience that. But I think it's, important to know that it's okay to have that experience, and you're not going to kind of get on well with everybody that you run into, whether it's at work or in life or, whatever.
It's part of the show.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
You lost it, right? Okay. It's okay. I think it's very challenging managing all this energy. Talking about the energy, I wanted to ask you this. You said like you love the feeling when you were doing the live performance and all the people who's there.
Mm-hmm.
There's this idea that when people is in a live concert of a band or a musician they love to listen to, there's this feeling of connection with everyone else. This Freud called it like, I don't know the right translation, but it's something like oceanic feeling.
Okay.
Like being close to God. Like everything is one thing.
Right.
You know what I'm...
Yes. Yeah.
Do you think that music has...
At times, power? Yeah. I think it can help people kind of tap into like a shared or universal consciousness at certain times. It might be easier for some people to get in touch with that than other people. But I definitely think that a environment like that can help facilitate that. And it does that for me at times when I'm doing my job and doing what I'm doing.
When you feel the energy of the people?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's a powerful thing.
Oh, it can be an extremely powerful thing. There's nothing like, being at a show and mixing a show and kind of being in your own mind and body and, doing what you have to do, and then taking a moment to kind of step out of it and feel and listen to what's going on and look around and, see 50, 80, 100,000 people around you, feeling a certain way and putting out this energy and emotion, and to feel that and be in that moment is a very powerful thing.
Was that one of the things that you really felt when you decided that this was going to be the thing that you were going to be doing?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, I can imagine that you really felt connected. Music does that sometimes.
Yeah, I think that was a big thing for me to feel connected to people, which I had struggled with for a long time in my life.
Really?
Yeah. And it's like, goes back to, that's why I did drugs, right? To connect with people. I was always kind of like a loner when I was younger. And I had a hard time connecting with people. And working in music kind of helps facilitate that for me.
How did you get over it? Like, how did you manage or learn to connect better with people? Because out there's a lot of lonely people, right? People who,
for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, people who not lonely, but they struggle with connection, with finding meaningful or deep connections. People who seem to be struggling with socialization.
Yeah, I mean, I still have that for sure. I still struggle to connect with people sometimes and feel connected to people. And I feel another thing with touring, which can be very challenging, is you're forced to be around all these people.
Yeah.
All the time. All day, every day, for weeks, months at a time. And then you go home and, all these people who you've been around for 24 hours a day for however long, they're not there. And all of a sudden you have to self-direct and, make your own schedule, and you can't look at your phone and know everything you're going to do every minute of every day for, months at a time. It's like you're alone and you're not around people, and you kind of have to force yourself to go out and I guess develop these connections elsewhere. And even as I say that, it's I'm still trying to practice that and be more in touch with that.
Yeah, I got you. How do you manage having a relationship with that lifestyle?
Like a romantic relationship?
Yeah, of course.
It can be extremely challenging. It has, touring is definitely ended, maybe not directly ended. I'm definitely partly responsible for that, but it's definitely taken its toll on quite a few relationships for sure.
Yeah, it must be really, really difficult.
Yeah, it can be very challenging. You need to find someone who's very comfortable and secure with themselves and who is okay and aware of, what you do, and who are, they're okay with that. And that can be a challenging thing to do and to find because it's like you meet someone and there's a romantic connection and you want to be near them and you want to spend time with them, but at the same time it can also help to hone and develop communication and trust and openness and forthrightness if you allow it to. But it's a double-edged sword. It's like a
double-edged sword, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I got you. Another thing that I wanted to ask you is that you felt this kind of connection with yoga when you were doing that certification, where you were doing that?
Yeah, so I started doing it. My mother is a yoga teacher and like fitness instructor. And she got me into it when I was younger. And I remember when I was younger, I was like, "Oh, this is like stupid. I don't want to do this." And then I started having back problems when I was like in my 20s. You can tell by the way I said probably back problems. But she taught me some stretches, to help facilitate kind of easing or working through discomfort.
Yeah.
And then from there, I kind of started to get into it a little bit. And I have a cousin who he lives in Los Angeles now, and he was getting really into it kind of right after I had started touring. And I think seeing him be so into it, and I remember I stayed at his place one time. He lived with a couple other dudes, and he was doing a yoga teacher certification.
Okay.
And he was like, "Hey, can I teach you guys a class? I need to practice teaching." And I did the class, and that was kind of like the tipping point for me where I was like, "Oh, wow, this is something that I need to do." And after that, I kind of got into it more. I would go to classes on days off, and it would help me, feel okay when I was touring.
Yeah.
And
was he kind of a role model? Was he older?
We're about the same age. I think he's a couple months older than me.
Okay.
But yeah, for sure, role model in some respect.
Okay, got you. I think just to finish, because we're about to finish, some advice or approach that you can give the audience, the people who is listening to us right now, to overcome this imposter syndrome that sometimes they have, these challenges that sometimes you face when you go out of your comfort zone and you step into new things, as you said, just to discover your life path.
You can do anything you want to do to a certain extent. You know, you can't like think, oh, I want to fly to the moon. And you know, to a certain extent, you can do anything that you want to do in life. And you just need to get clear on what that is and try and granularize or compartmentalize, you know, how to accomplish that. And it's okay to feel this imposter syndrome sometimes, or feel like, you know, I don't deserve this, or I don't, you know, am I good at this? Should I even be doing this? It's okay to feel these feelings, because everybody feels these feelings, and you just need to come back and know, like, hey, I'm going to do this. This is something that I'm going to do. This is why I want to do it, you know, whatever the reason might be. And have an action plan, and just commit to doing it as well as you can possibly do it. And then through time and effort, you will become better at, you know, whatever it is that you're trying to do.
Nice. It's awesome. Dev, it was a pleasure to have you here.
Yeah,
we hope you have a great show tomorrow.
Thank you.
We are having the pleasure to be with you here today, but let's see you tomorrow at Zócalo.
Cool. All right. See you then.
See you. Hoy tuvimos la oportunidad de platicar con Dev, que nos contó cómo el salir de tu zona de confort y experimentar nuevas actividades nos pueden hacer triunfar en la vida. Muchas gracias por habernos escuchado en este episodio de blubrain. Aprende inglés. El mundo te espera.